Hello and welcome back to Ben and Danielle Reviews. I'm Ben and today I am back with Jamie and Andrew and they are back with their top 50 games of all time, numbers 20 through 11 today.
Yep.
So this is at the point where we're getting to like the best of the best games at this point. I would say the top 20 are kind of the games that you'd want to play like anytime you have an opportunity to, for the most part. Aside from maybe like a heavier like Euro game or a like grand like 4-hour experience or
play those anytime they're available. Come on.
Yes. Who should I have start today? Have Andrew start.
I'm gonna have some hot takes today.
All right.
So, but we're gonna have some fun with it. So, my number 20 game is actually a pretty new to me game. So it could go up, it could go down over time. But that game is going to be Longshot, the dice game. So this is a someone on this channel has accused me of hating roll and writes,
Yes.
indirectly.
And she is not here to defend herself, so yes, let's keep going further.
So I do generally dislike roll and writes, but this is a roll and write that I actually liked quite a bit. So it is a horse racing betting game. You'll have it's a roll and write, and you want to kind of back the winning horse in a race.
Yep.
Each turn you're going to roll some dice that are going to move some number of horses forward, and then you can use the number corresponding to that horse that moved forward to do something on your roll and write sheet. That might be it might be marking off a jersey, which helps you move that horse forward a little bit more often. It might be naturally placing bets on the horse because that's what you would do in a betting game. It could be buying that horse. It could be going to the concession stand where you get ridiculous rewards like free horses and manipulating the laws of space and time by moving horses backwards along the track. So it's a pretty goofy game. But the reason why it's cracking my top 20 after about 3 plays, I think, is, first of all, this game goes from 1 to 8 players, which is pretty ridiculous for a game of this size. It goes 1 to 8 players. It plays pretty quick. The teach is pretty quick. So for me, I have a satchel of games I carry around with me that I like to be good for a lot of different situations. And if I'm trying to find games that I can pull out in just a wide variety of different times, like no matter how many people I have, no matter how experienced we are as gamers, like this is a pretty good game to have on hand. It's pretty portable. I might have accidentally crushed the box a little bit trying to fit it in my backpack, but that's okay. It still works, and I've enjoyed it a lot.
So magnets are still intact.
The magnets are still intact.
Yes.
So long shot.
So I don't imagine this being in your top 50.
Nope.
Okay. Well, this one was the one that I enjoy. I picked it up first, and it sat on my shelf unplayed for a whole year or so. And so, yeah, I enjoy it. I think our most memorable play of it was the most recent time we played, where we did the carnival track or the carnival board where you're trying to get a 4 in a row.
Oh, the concession stand?
The concession stand, yes. And so I just got a free horse that ended up being the winning horse, and then my horse crossed the finish line pretty quickly, and then I just spent the rest of the game crossing off the concession stand to move other horses back.
Yeah, so I think in that game we all made the mistake of letting me bet like crazy on the 8 horse and letting the 8 horse actually place, because typically that's one of the slower horses, and so it pays out more.
Yeah.
And I bet a ton on that horse.
Yeah. So winning with your horses and everything. Betting is a big part of this game, more so than other racing games like Downforce, where if your car wins the race, you have a good shot of winning. Where this one, I think you have a little less of a shot. It's less necessary that your own horse wins, because you can actually win the game without buying any horses at all. Yeah. It's a delightful little game, and I'm glad it's getting loved and getting enjoyed. Yeah, I'm surprised because I know a lot of your games were that you've played them for years.
Yeah.
And this one's a newer one. And
Yep. There will be a few newer ones. Not
Okay.
too many, but a few. So
Awesome. I'm glad it's this high for you. All right.
My number 20 is Fantastic Factories,
All right.
designed by Joseph Z. Chen and Justin Faulkner, published by MetaFactory Games. It's a engine building game where you're gonna be rolling dice, and it's split into two phases where you're going to first acquire cards, either helper cards that let you do different abilities or cards that you can use to start like building your engine, and then in the second phase you're going to roll your dice and assign those workers, the dice workers, and it's just one that's played quick and fun, and it's fun to build like a little engine. And
All right. Have you played this one?
I've not played this one.
Okay. So, Sharita and I talked about this game in her video because she had it at number 14. So, pretty similar spot. I think when I talked about it, like, it was a game that she had been, like, trying to get me to play for months. And she went out and bought all the expansions for it, like, after first play. She just bought the base game and all the expansions. And it was like, that was, like, the newest obsession for her. And then we haven't played the expansions yet. Have you played the expansions
oh
yet?
yeah, they're good.
Okay, cool. I might need to try the expansions. I thought this game was good. It wasn't great. I felt like the choices that I was making in the game and the engine building of it, it was kind of that awkward spot where you weren't like clawing for every resource, but your resources weren't very plentiful either. So I usually like with my engine building games to either be like clawing for resources, working for everything, or having them be plentiful and see what I can do. This was kind of the awkward spot for me where it was kind of in the middle of that, and I don't know. That's one I want to give another try to. Yeah, so this is a game that you were wanting me to try for the longest time.
Yes.
And I finally was like, okay, fine. It wasn't a game that really necessarily appealed to me, but I was like, okay, if it means that much to you, we can try it. And we played it, and I don't know, it just didn't seem like you really got to do all the things you wanted to do. It seemed like you were able to get kind of like a taste of the thing you wanted to do, but you weren't able to go like full out doing what you wanted to do, because it's limited what the resources and things you're allowed to do, but also so just enough to be frustrating, but not enough to
Oh, and it only goes up to 12 point, like once you hit 12 points.
Yeah.
So maybe if they like put the point value a little bit higher. Yeah, because it definitely felt like when I played with you, it felt like the game went a lot faster. And when the first time I played, it seemed a lot more exciting. Maybe because we were a little slower, and maybe we just didn't get the best cards.
Yeah.
That got us the most points at the time.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with the pace of the game. It just with just trying to do things like you could. It seemed like you had to really like do one thing or the other, no matter like how strong you got your engine. You really had to decide, do I do this or do that? Whereas games that I enjoy, like Furnace, you get to do everything, and I want to be able to either do everything, or I want to
do nothing,
or I want to be able to really like scrounge for like nail and claw for every resource. And it was kind of like that like uncomfortable balance for me, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
So it was.
I have one question.
Yep.
I have not played this game.
Okay.
I think I'm correct in saying that you have this. We've already had Wingspan and Gizmos show up.
Yes.
Okay. So what makes this better than Wingspan and Gizmos? I know I just put you on the spot.
It's just I think pretty light for an engine building game, and it just like I played it with like my mom and stuff, and she really liked it, and it was just we were able to like play multiple games of it.
Sure. Awesome, yeah. Memories are a big part of like liking games. That's true. I brought Gizmos to play today. Hopefully we'll get that to the table today. I'm thinking I'm gonna like Gizmos more.
Yeah, probably.
But that just seems like more of my type of game. But Fantastic Factories is one that you and Sharita love to play. So I'll have to play it some more, maybe with an expansion or two thrown in, and see what that's like, what changes it makes to the game, if it impacts the game for me. All right.
All right. 19?
Yes.
All right. So we are on my third Vlaada Chvátil game of this list. 4th if we count Codenames as an honorable mentions at 51. But this game, I think, is one of his most underrated games, which is Tashkalar Arena of Legends.
Okay.
So this is it's pretty much a 2-player game. It can play 2 to 4. It is a kind of go-like positional game. So you're going to have these pieces that you're playing on a square grid, and on your turn, it's been a while since I've played this, so pardon me if I get some rules wrong. You can do 2 things. You can either place a common token on the board, or you can summon a creature. And in order to summon a creature, you need to have your pieces on the board configured in some pattern that it shows on the card. There's going to be 2 different types of creatures you can summon. You can summon common creatures, which are typically easy to summon, and they have like a nice little effect, or a heroic creature, which is a little bit harder to summon, but A, has a bit of a stronger effect, and B, lets you put one of your heroic tokens on the board. The reason why that's important is because there's actually an even better type of creature called a legendary creature, and those you need to actually have different arrangements of heroic and common pieces. So you need to get some of those heroic on the board to summon them. And there's a few different modes of this game. You could be playing deathmatch mode, which is you're just trying to eliminate your opponent's pieces as quick as possible. Summon legends. Summoning legends would get you points, and it's, just a bloodbath. Or you could be playing high form, which is a lot more about trying to claim certain pieces or spaces on the board, trying to configure your pieces in different ways, trying to summon certain types of pieces in a single turn. So there's a lot of different things that you'll be doing in the game. Another thing that's really important in this game, as I mentioned kind of in passing, that yes, you can destroy your opponent's pieces. But you don't always want to do that, because there's also these flare cards where if you have way more pieces than your opponent, they'll be able to do this flare, which will let them do extra effects on their turn to kind of be able to prepare that bigger play. So it's not just about wiping out your opponent's pieces. Why I like this game? It's super tricky. So like that positional aspect hurts my brain, and I love it. So it's tricky in that way. Summoning the creatures is just really cool in the game. You really feel like you've accomplished something when you've put the pieces together in the right pattern, especially when you can pull off one of those legendaries. It's just really satisfying. And the third plug I need to give to this game is kind of a tangential one, and I'll come back to this with my next game. So it was my dad's birthday recently. He's not here. He's in Michigan. And I asked him, what are some games that we should bring out for game night in honor of his birthday? And I was very surprised that this one made his list, because I thought he hated this game, but actually he likes it, and that's probably because he beats me at it when we play it together. So
Sure.
He's not huge into hobby games. Like, there's a few that he likes. Usually it's like Marvel games are what he likes, or Star Trek games. But he likes Tashkalar Arena of Legends too. It's a wonderful game. You should play it.
All right.
So, there you go.
Do you have any thoughts on this?
I had looked into it a long time ago, and it's one I really want to try at some point. It sounds like
Okay.
one I'd like.
I do not have it in Duluth.
I was gonna ask, was that one of your Michigan games?
It is. As
Okay.
was the other game he requested. Thanks,
Okay.
Dad.
Yes.
So,
So, the way you described this game, I haven't played it, but the way you described it to me, it just sounds like a more complicated war chest.
I've not played War Chest. I think I know. I don't even know if it would necessarily be more complicated, because the rules in Tashkalar are pretty streamlined.
Okay.
It's a thinky game for sure, but the rules themselves aren't the problem.
Mhm.
It's just trying to figure out how to strategize best.
Would you say it's like puzzly?
Very puzzly.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if this is a game I'll ever get to, but glad you like it.
It's a good game.
All right.
Number 19 is Valley of the Kings,
All right.
designed by Tom Cleaver and published by AEG. It's a deck building game where you're going to have a pyramid of cards, and you have to buy from the bottom row, and then once you do, it's going to crumble, which you're going to have to put it down there for the other person to buy. They all have different abilities, and what you're trying to do is, it's a balance between putting them in your tomb for points because you're trying to collect sets of the different colors, and then also using them for their abilities. So it's just got this fun way of, do I keep the cards now or do I entomb them to start working on my sets of those different colors? And it's just a really fun deck building game.
Is that deck building with multi-use cards?
I wouldn't say it's multi-use card. Well, there's like, you can use them for money, you can use them for the point or
Okay.
the abilities, or entomb them, which you can't use them anymore, but they're worth
Okay.
points at the end of the game.
Sure.
So like, there's I think like 7 blue ones. If you get all 7, that's 7 times 7. And
Okay.
then each color has a different number of them.
Okay. Sweet. I didn't know you liked this game.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some differing views on this game because there's people that really like this game and there are people that really hate this game. I know this came out in around the era when AEG games, you kind of thought twice about picking up an AEG game because a lot of the AEG games at that time weren't as good. Not like nowadays when AEG puts out a game, it's going to be the greatest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed this game. I have not tried this yet.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Awesome.
18.
18.
18. 18, I think, is one we've talked about already, so I'll try to keep my thoughts brief. That is the other game that my dad requested that we play for his birthday. I don't even think we played this at that time, but that's okay. And that game is Space Base. So, as I said, I think we've talked about it.
Yep.
This is one of those kind of like Catan / Machikoro type games where you're kind of building up your slot machine of different abilities that will trigger when different dice numbers are rolled. And I think as far as those kinds of games go, it's by far my favorite. You will not find Catan on my list. I haven't even played Machikoro, so I can't really talk about it. It's bad company. But Space Base.
Yeah.
Space Base. I do quite like. I think it hits that. It's engine building in a different way than something like Wingspan
Yep.
or Race for the Galaxy. But it's still that engine building, and I think as far as just being able to build your engine quick and do crazy things with your engine, it's one of the simplest games that gets across that idea
Sure.
while still having a lot
Yes.
of fun things
Yep.
going on.
Sure.
So I like it a lot.
All right. So Jamie, you talked about this, didn't you?
Yeah, a few videos ago. Yep.
Okay. And it was on my list at number 40. I'm suspecting it's going to be on Sharita's list. We still have one list left. Other than that, unless she completely forgot about it. I know she loves this game. So this might be one of our few, if not our only, 4-way crossover.
Yep.
So with this game, it's very dependent on, its placing is dependent on like how much it's gotten played that year. I had it at 40 this year. Previously 28, 14, 19. So it's been around, but it's always been in my top 50.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it's gonna land next year. Could be just because I've talked about before with a bad company kind of replacing it, but maybe not.
Okay.
We'll see. I know there's some cards that people don't like the lose, everyone loses points
Yep.
kind of cards. I know that kind of frustrates some people. I don't have a problem with cards like that as long as it keeps the game moving. But if you're just making people lose points just for the sake of losing points, then I have a problem with that. But we'll see.
So I'll say this: it's a little long for the kind of game it is.
Yes.
I don't care because I enjoy playing it, but I think. I guess I just mentioned that because I said it's one of the simplest that gets across that idea. The fact that it's long kind of counterbalances that a little bit.
Sure.
Still fun.
And I think that's one of the things that's kept it out of my top 10 like every year is the fact that like 2/3 of my plays of this game, I'll be 2/3 of the way through the game and I'll be like, okay, I'm ready for this game to be over now. Let's play something else now.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to play a few more rounds and I'm at that point I'm like, I don't care who wins. Let's just finish this game. Let someone win already.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an enjoyable game though, and I don't want to discredit it just because it goes a little long. But we'll see where it's at next year.
Yep.
All right.
Number 18 is Cartographers. designed by Jordi Adon and published by Thunderwork Games. It's a flip and right game where you're going to have different goals each time, and you're going to be drawing in these polyomino shapes into your map, and you're going to get different choices between like forest, desert, and stuff, and some you might want to get like deserts and forests and horizontal and vertical ways, score points. There's different ones with like adjacency and stuff, and it's another like puzzly game that I like, and it's just one that I really enjoyed, and I like the variety in it.
Have you played the Cartographers?
I have not played Cartographers. Is it related to the role player game?
Yes,
Yes,
it's from that
it's
same
in the same
universe.
universe. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so role player, they have the new like lockup one, and yeah. So, do you play just with the pencils, or do you do the coloring pencils?
I got the coloring pencils.
Okay.
I still don't. I'm not good at like making it look good, but
Sure. Yes. So, I for one think that coloring pencils should be part of the game.
Mhm.
I just think you should why would you just draw trees with a pencil when you can take out coloring pencils and put green trees?
Yep.
I don't. Yes, but yes. So the Cartographers used to be really high on my list.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that I like about it. I do think the lack of player interaction, like we've talked about before, with it makes it so it's more of a solo game, just for that reason. But it is great because it plays a lot of players. If you don't really care about player interaction, you just want to have a bunch of people sitting around the table playing a game. This is a good one for that.
Mhm.
I do like the aspect of like the rounds where you have goals for each round,
Yep, I like that a lot.
and like the goals for each round change.
Yep.
But you don't abandon the first goal
Mhm.
after round one, because that goal is going to score again at the end of the game.
Yep.
I like that aspect a lot. Have you played the Heroes at all?
No, I've only played the base game.
Okay.
I wanted to get like the different map packs and stuff.
Sure.
Just haven't yet.
Yeah, I have not gotten any of the map packs. I know we have a couple on the shelf back there.
Mhm.
I haven't picked them up though. It's just so many games.
Yep.
But yeah, it's definitely used to be high on my list. I'm glad it's still high on your list.
Mhm.
But it's fallen a little bit for me just because it hasn't gotten played.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. I think my next game, I'm pretty confident neither of you have played.
Okay.
Okay.
This is actually one of the first. I'm not going to say heavy Euro games because it's not that heavy, but it's on the heavier side of the spectrum. And that game is Power Grid. So it's one of the first of those that I played. So Power Grid, by board game standards, ancient at this point. Less ancient than El Grande. We talked about El Grande and all that. Newer than that, but it's still pretty old. But it is a auction resource management game where you are trying to spread your power company around, I think, probably Germany. I think is there an America map? There might be an
Yes.
America map. But there's also a German map. And you're just trying to do that. You're trying to spread your network. You're trying to get really good, efficient power plants so that you can be the first one to power like 21 cities on a turn. That's generally the gist of it. So there's a lot going on in this game. There are some really exciting auctions where you are auctioning off for the best power plant. And that might depend on what you're going for, which one's going to be good for you. So those auctions can be pretty fun. Probably one of my favorite parts about this game is the resource pool. There's a really interesting way that like supply and demand is modeled, where basically as there's fewer resources left in this supply, they'll become more expensive. So what you can do is you can buy power plants that allow you to hoard a whole bunch of one type of resource and make it really expensive for everyone else.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. So those are kind of the two really interesting things for me about this game. There's also a turn order mechanic, which doesn't sound glamorous, but it's one of those where if you're trailing behind, you're going to get a lot of like timing benefits over the other players. So sometimes it's a good idea to trail a little bit behind so you can get those benefits and then steal all their resources. So it's just a really fun game. It is one that I have purposely sought out to play at like Gen Con before and had a good time. It's one that's it's pretty hard to get to the table. You want about 4 or 5 players, and if you have 5 players, it's gonna take a very long time.
Sure.
So it's a bit hard to get to the table. It's a game where you will need a calculator on your last few turns to calculate exactly how much money you need to spend to
Sure.
build in this city. So there's a few things going against it. But as far as just being like a really dynamic Euro game with a lot of interaction, a lot of ways to kind of manipulate the system, it's really cool. I'm gonna retrograde back to when I was talking about Raccoon Tycoon, and I said there's things in that game that you usually have to wait until a heavier game to see. I'd say that the things that I like in Raccoon Tycoon are kind of like primitive versions of what you really get to engage with in a game like Power Grid. So
Sure.
there you go.
I've never played it, but it's one I'd really like to try.
It's a solid game.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I know there's been a couple times where we tried to get together for that, and it just never worked out. I'm hoping that there is a time
Mhm.
soon where us 3 can play it with Sharita, maybe.
Yeah.
And yeah, with Freedom and Freeze games, I don't know if we talked about this before, but all of the games I played of his, they're either like ones I absolutely love or I just absolutely hate.
I've only played maybe one of his others. I'm pretty sure this is his highest rated by far. His most well liked. So
Sure. Yeah, it's one I picked up a copy and have to try it eventually.
Yep.
I just know it's gonna take some learning.
Mhm.
It's gonna it's gonna take a little bit for us to get the hang of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say this: it's one where one person really needs to know what's going on because there's like these 3 different phases that trigger at different times, which is just weird, and I don't remember what those are. Someone has to remember how to restock the resource market. Someone has to remember turn order stuff. But as long as one person knows all that, everyone else is fine.
Okay.
Um,
So sounds like Sharita. All right. Sounds good. That's number 18?
I think
17?
so. 17?
17?
17 sounds right.
17. Cool.
My number 17 is Splendor Duel, designed by Mark Andre and Bruno Cathala, published by Space Cowboy Games. I like it better than normal Splendor. You're gonna have this grid of chips, and you can take 3 of them as long as there's no like wild in the mix. And then you're trying to do what you're doing in normal Splendor, getting the right chips to collect the cards, and those cards will give you a discount. So if you have green and it costs 4 green, you only need 3 green chips to be able to buy that. There's 3 different ways to win, and I just think it's a little more like puzzly and fun than regular Splendor.
Do you have any thoughts on Splendor?
Splendor's okay. I have not played Splendor Duel. That's the extent of my thoughts. I watched Splendor Duel being played. It looks like there's a decent amount more going on.
Well, so this is a crossover with Sharita.
Yep.
Sharita had her number 44 this year. She's so obsessed with Splendor.
Yep.
I used to love Splendor until y'all started becoming absolutely obsessed with it. So I'm glad you enjoy this one. I've not played it yet, but it's one I would happily try at some point. I just have to actually sit down and do it.
Yep.
There's just so many games to play.
There is, yeah.
All right. Good choice.
Thank you.
I'm gonna get some flack for like the next 4 games.
Okay.
I'm ready for this.
All right.
So my next game. So we just talked about a pretty dry economic Euro game. My number 16 is Sushi Go Party.
Okay.
So Sushi Go Party. If you've heard of drafting games, then you basically know everything that's going on in Sushi Go Party.
Sure.
It's just bare bones. It's a drafting game where you're trying to kind of collect different sets of cards. So like you might want to get 2 tempura or 3 sashimi, or you might want to try to get 2 but not 3 eel, or all this fun stuff. It's just like the most basic drafting game you could possibly imagine.
Sure.
So that I have played it with my niece. So this is another one that gets a little bit of extra love because I get to play it with my niece. I'll say a few things about it. So I'm talking about Sushi Go Party, which is a bit more customizable than Sushi Go. I've never just played the base game of Sushi Go, but you can kind of simulate the base game of Sushi Go if you have Sushi Go Party. I almost would like to have a copy of Sushi Go so I could put it in my bag because Sushi Go Party is not portable.
You can have my copy. I'll give you my copy.
I might take you up on that.
Yeah.
But so it's customizable though, so you can
Sure.
like mix and match different things. It's easy enough that I could teach it to my niece. And there's more strategy in it than you might think. I actually have to try when I play with my niece. The reason I have to try is because I have to try to lose. Because if I just play on autopilot, like I'll make the correct choices and then like trounce her score. So like if I want to have a competitive game with my niece, gotta make sure that I, take all the Maki, even though you just need a majority, and having any more Maki than you absolutely need is a mistake. And do things like that so that, we can even up the match. But it's nice and fun. It's easy to get out. If you have Sushi Go Party, it plays up to 8 players. So as I said with Longshot, I like games that have that kind of that flexibility with them.
Sure.
It's just nice and fun. So Sushi Go Party.
Your thoughts on Sushi Go?
I never played it. The only one I played was I think Spin Some for Dim Sum one.
Oh, okay.
That's the only one I've ever played, and it was
Oh, yeah.
one. Or, like twice in that one day, and I'd like to try Sushi Go Party though.
That is also in Michigan.
Yeah. I have a copy of both. I can't hate on that pick. Phil Walker Harding just kind of just bare bones takes a mechanic and just makes it accessible for people to get into.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think Sushi Go Party is it's better just because there's more options. But Sushi Go is good for portability and portability only.
Yes.
But other than that, though, I mean, it's just a basic card drafting game.
Yep.
It doesn't go on my list, and it doesn't get played just because I have so many other drafting games. But if you're looking for a simple card drafting game to get people into, that's kind of the way to go. It's a good pick.
Number 16 is Azul Stained Glass of Sintra, designed by Michael Keasley and published by Next Move Games. It's the second in the Azul line. You're going to be building these stained glass. You have these 8 different window panes that get randomized each game, and it works the same where you're drafting from the central, whatever you call it. You take all of one color and you're going to put them on there, and then you have this little worker, so if you put it on the 4th window pane, you have to move that worker there, and you can't build any more from 4 to 1 until you make that worker rest. And I like it more than the original one. And then once you score, you're going to move it down where you're going to be doing endgame scoring stuff. And if you're able to surround all 4, or like a diamond thing, you get a lot more points.
Cool. I'm gonna have to bring this so that we can play this because I've only played the first Azul, and then I played the Chocolatier. But I have Azul number 2, and so if it's better than the original, then we'll yeah.
It seems to be mixed. Some like it more,
Yes.
some like the original more.
But what I've realized is the people that have played both, they have strong opinions one way or another about this.
I don't.
Like
I
they're ready to fight people for this. You don't?
I like all of them actually,
Okay, cool.
and I own all of them, and they're all really fun.
Okay, this is just your favorite slightly.
It may or may not be my favorite.
Okay, gotcha.
Ah.
Okay. I thought I heard you say that's your favorite.
Oh no, I liked it more than the original.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Spoilers.
Yep.
spoilers. Gotcha. I misunderstood. Pardon me. Have you played any of the Azuls?
I've played as the base game once.
Yeah.
It was good. I wasn't like, I hate this, I'm never playing it again. It's just it only happened once.
And with that, I think we're gonna talk more later. So I'll just shut my mouth now.
So I said the next 4 I'm getting flack. So here's number 2 where I'm getting flack.
Okay.
Number 15 is another new to me game that could go up or down, but for right now, it's at 15, which is Flamme Rouge. So Flamme Rouge is a biking game.
Okay.
Another game that like the rules are pretty dead simple. You have 2 racers. You have a sprinter and a roller. You could say their names in French if you feel so inclined. I'm not French. And I wouldn't want to offend French people by trying. So basically you're going to play a card to move them some amount forward, and then that card's gone forever from your deck, so you only have 1 shot to use that card. These are numbered like 2 to 5 plus 9 or something for the sprinters, and then like 3 to 7 for the rollers, something like that. But then there's a few other things that happen, like there's slipstreaming, where if you've positioned it just right so that there's like 1 gap between the racers, they'll all like smush up closer together so you can get some extra movement that way. And there is exhaustion, where if you're at the front of a pack, you're going to take these bad cards into your deck. So there's like some very light traces of deck building in this game. I've only played it 3 times. I've played it 2 times on the base track, and I've played it 1 time with some of the ascents and declines. And I would say it's one of those games where like I just want to dig more into it. I want to see what different strategies you can try. I want to see like how do you balance trying to stay in the lead versus taking that exhaustion. What's the right trade-off there? The one game that I played with Ascents and Declines really kind of brought up that, like, how are you going to go into an ascent so that you're not stuck there for a bunch of turns, but also so that you're not, like, wasting your good value cards trying to position yourself right. There was just, like, for how little there is rules-wise, there's just a lot to dig into, and I would like to dig into it more. It could be that I dig into it and I'm like, oh, I've seen everything there is to see in Flamme Rouge, and it's been like 4 games. Great. That doesn't seem to be the consensus about this game. But who knows? It's one that I would like to see more of, for sure. And that's why it's so high, is because, like, for me right now, it's a game I want to be trying. So
Awesome. Did you get to play this?
Once.
Okay. So you played that probably when I was teaching another game, I'm assuming?
I think so. Either that or you were working or something.
Cool. And you and I played it with Glow.
Yep.
Okay. So, couple problems with the game.
Yep.
So, first problem, I'm really bad at it.
I'm pretty sure. Well, okay, maybe you lost.
Yeah.
But also, Glow and I think that was also Glow's 3rd game of it.
Yeah.
I think they managed to play all the games I'd played of it. So.
Yeah. And so, also because I was way too cautious, because I was afraid of taking exhaustion, and so I was like, okay, there'll be a shot, there'll be a chance for me to get back into it right at the end there. I'll just not get any exhaustion and I'll have a shot. You're like, oh no, I was way too cautious. So that's on me. But also the fact of being only up to 4 players, kind of, for racing games, I like to have 5 or 6 players for a lot of my racing games, because racing games are kind of the genre I break out when we have a big group.
Yeah.
And that's just not something I can do with this game.
I want Peloton. It hasn't been available for a little bit, so I'm keeping my eye on it. But it has not been available yet. That brings it up to 6, and also helps you bolster some of the lower player counts with a slightly more crowded track.
Sure. Okay. Definitely. So it's one that I've been told, you got to try this for years, and I never got to back in Washington, but because I was always playing other games that appealed to me a little bit more. Finally broke down because you pressured me to play it. It wasn't a top 50 game for me, but it's one that I would play. I'd play it for sure, and I'm glad you enjoy it. I'm hoping that being able to play it with more players will help it a little bit.
Once
But
I
yeah.
can get the expansion.
But you have it at 15, so you love it just as is.
So I like it as is. We'll see what happens to it as I get to play it more.
So Do you think you have it a little high to start, or you think it's at the right spot for it this year?
I don't know. So like even after my first play of it, I was like, there's a lot to think about here. And I think after our play, when we saw the Ascendant Clans, I was like, there's even more to think about here. So I don't know.
Can I put Jamie on the spot a little
Go
bit?
for it.
So, this game versus Snowtails, because I know you hate Snowtails.
I don't hate Snowtails.
Or
I'd honestly say neither.
neither. Okay, you don't care for either one.
I'd play Flamme Rouge over Snowtails,
Okay.
but I've also only played Flamme Rouge once,
Yeah.
and I kind of felt like it didn't have that much going on. It didn't feel like very thinky or anything.
Sure.
And it's one I guess I would try again just to see if my opinions change on it. I don't hate it, but
Okay. So I know there are people in our group that just absolutely just hate Snowtails with a passion.
it's
And-
definitely not my favorite one.
Okay. But yeah, and so I'm excited to get Heat. I just found out Friday that I'm able to get a copy soon.
Oh, nice.
When it's available, I'll be able to get a copy. We're gonna get one copy here in Superior, one in Duluth, and so I'll snatch the Superior copy before it can hit the shelf, unless I'm on vacation, at which point I need someone to snatch it up for me. All right, and that's that. All right, Flamme Rouge.
Number 15 for me is Targi,
All right.
designed by Andreas Steiger and published by Cosmos. It's a 2-player worker placement game where you're going to have these grid of cards, and then you place one on one of them, and then your opponent cannot place directly across from you. And you have 3 different workers, and you're trying to make them intersect in the middle. There's goods cards and cards that have like different powers and stuff on them. And then you're using the resources you get to build this little grid of cards. And if you're able to get 4 in a row, you get 4 points. If you get a mix of one of each, you get 2 points. And it's just a fun 2-player worker placement game that's got interesting decisions, and it's a fun one.
Have you played Targi? No?
I don't think maybe once.
Okay.
Maybe.
So this is another one that I picked up, and at the time I picked it up because I heard a lot of good things about it. I was still new to the hobby, and I was playing with my ex Alex, or playing games at that time, and that one I'd never broke it out because it always seemed too complicated. I'm not sure how complicated it actually is.
I don't think it's too bad. Maybe
Okay.
for like a new person, but
Okay.
if you've played games, it's not bad at all.
Okay. I think just one day, on a Wednesday, while we're waiting for the other Yahoos to show up, we'll have to break out Targi and Asante and just try those out.
We can do that, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Third of my controversial takes.
All right.
Let's do it. Number 14 is a game that I love dearly. I love all these dearly. That's Letter Jam. So Letter Jam, I profess to be a Vlaada Chvátil fan, but I don't even have Codenames as my number 1 word game. Who am I? At least it's CGE. That counts for something. But Letter Jam is a cooperative word game where basically there's kind of the bulk of the game. What you're going to be doing is everyone's going to have one letter in front of them that everyone else can see except for them. And what you're trying to do is players will be coming up with clues that will turn into kind of like fill in the blank hangman style clues for the other players. So I might spell a word like, I don't know, potato or something. That's a pretty long word. But what that might see is someone would see the letters otato, and then they'd be like, oh, the first letter that I have must be a P. And then someone would see like P blank, TAT blank O, and they'd be like, oh, that's probably an O there. And then someone else would see like PO blank A blank O, and then they'd be like, oh, I have a T. So it's those kinds of clues that you're giving around the table. Now, of course, that sounded like a wonderful clue. Often your options aren't that great, and you kind of have to settle for lesser clues or clues that might be a little harder to nail down. So that's most of what you're doing in this game. At the very end, the reason why you're trying to figure out what these letters are is because there is a word in front of you that you don't know what it is. And you're going to use what you found out about those letters to figure out what that word is. So you've had your word, because those letters spell some word, and you're going to try to rearrange them into the word that they're supposed to be. So this is a game that there's a few things I'll say about it. If you like Wordle and word games of that sort, I think you will like this game. If you like cooperative games and Wordle and games of that sort, you will like this game. It is a pretty unforgiving cooperative word game because, like, there's no guarantee that you know what your letter is when you say, oh, I've got this, I'm moving on. Like, you could be totally wrong. Scrambling those words at the end is so much harder than it has any right to be. You're like, there's no word that could possibly be spelled with these letters. I've just been handed garbage. What's going on? It could be you've made a mistake. It could also be that in the high pressure of the situation, you forget that certain common words exist. Happens more often than you might think. But I don't know how many people love this game as much as I do, but I do really like it. I'd say that the puzzles that you're presented every turn in this game are just really solid. Like, trying to come up with a word that uses the letters available is really interesting. And then also trying to figure out what word what letter do I have based on the clues being given. That's also really interesting. There was a third thing I was going to say about this. And downtime. So one thing this does in a game like Codenames, there's a ton of downtime as the clue givers have to like look and be like, oh no, what is this? What's this grid of words? There's a lot less downtime in this because anyone can give a clue at any time. That said, that kind of freeform part might also not be everyone's cup of tea. So I don't think this is a game for everyone, but I think it is a game that people should be aware of. And if it sounds like a game for you, it probably is. So cool.
I don't think you enjoy this game very much, do you, Jamie?
I've only played it once. I would want to play it again, actually.
Okay, interesting.
Because those are my type of... I like those kind of games. Just like word party style games. I didn't really like it the first play, but I want to try it again, actually.
I would not be opposed.
So that's the thing, like, a lot of times when we're playing games, I just always think, like, if you're not saying anything, I was like, oh, Jamie hates this game. Jamie does not like this game. So this was a game that was recommended to me by friends of the channel, Evan from Evan Diesel. So we played this with people. It was their first time coming to game group, and they were a little bit shy, and so they were kind of afraid to give clues. So you and I were kind of the ones having to give clues most of the time, and it kind of makes it a little bit hard to get our own clues when no one else is willing to step up.
Yeah. That's why I said the freeform might not be everyone's thing. There's definitely times where it's like, I've had so many good clues, but since I've been giving all the clues, I have no idea what letters are in front of me. So that happens a lot.
Because with a lot of games, like there's turn order where you're forced to be in the hot seat, and that can make little shy people uncomfortable. Whereas this one gives them too much freedom where they're allowed to like sit in the corner, which is also, I don't know which one is right to do, but this game definitely does it in the more relaxed way. And then, of course, I felt like a real idiot when I couldn't spell it. Area. I was like, no, an R and 3 vowels? What is this? There's no words in the English language that are spelled like that. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess that is actually a word that I've used many times in my life.
I think that was everyone at the table except for me who had played this game before, to be fair.
I was more so mad at myself versus the game. It just made me feel like I wasn't as smart, but I just come to realize that maybe I'm just not as smart as I thought I was growing up.
No, this game makes you feel dumb. That's the game's fault.
I don't know. Maybe. But yes. So I thought this might have a shot in your top 10. But...
not quite. I do like it a lot. It's in the top 20. That's still pretty good.
It is really good.
It is.
All right.
Number 14 is Cascadia. designed by
Okay.
Randy Flynn and published by Flat Out Games. It's a game where you're gonna have, it's a tile laying game, and you have these different tiles, these wooden tiles that have different animals on it, and then these cardboard tiles that have different terrains on them, and you're going to pick one of each in that row and then place it in your board somewhere. You're trying to get majority of the areas, and then there's also all these goal cards that are out that do different things. Like the Hawks want to like be able to see each other but not like be adjacent to each other. You're trying to form like different adjacent groups for some of them, and it's got that puzzly aspect again that I like, and it's just a fun tile layer.
I think we both I've only played this once.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I'm not going to start with my thoughts on it. You've played this a decent amount.
I've played it a decent amount. I've taught it to a lot of people. My copy's gotten a lot of use. I know it. People compare it to Calico a lot,
Yep.
which I think that's what you were going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I'm pretty confident you prefer Calico, just for
theme and
yeah. So people compare it. They're kind of opposites in a lot of ways.
Yep.
Because this one is a lot more expansive, where it gives you more options as the game goes on, whereas Calico, your options are very restricted towards the end there. And I think what people like about Cascadia is the fact that it gives people options. People feel like they can do everything that they want to do, whereas Calico, you get to do very little of the things you want to do, and you're forced to do things that you don't want to. And that rubs people the wrong way. I'm okay with it personally, as long as I go in with the mindset of like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get to do everything I want, so just let chaos ensue. Whereas Calico is kind of more of a relaxed experience where everyone gets to do everything that they want to do. It's like, hey, I want to invest more in getting mating pairs of bears, or I want to have the longest run of salmon known to man, or I just want to play as many hawks as I can all around the board. And everyone has their own strategy that they want to do, and everyone's going to get to do that strategy pretty much.
I think with Calico, I like both of them. I've only played Calico once. The only thing I don't like is the luck of like the 3 tiles there, whereas somebody could get the one exact tile they need, and then the other person has nothing, and there's no way to like mitigate that luck at all.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, you have the pine cone tokens. You can wipe things, or you can take what you want. That's true. I do think it's better for most people, because most of the people want that satisfaction of being able to do everything they want to do. They want to feel like they're being rewarded, whereas Calico doesn't make you feel rewarded.
Calico makes you feel like garbage.
So I have Calico higher just for that reason, because I don't mind a little bit of a game beating me down every once in a while, because life does that already. So I had Cascadia at 43, and Sharita had it at 21. So it's a 3-way crossover, not quite a 4-way, but it's in the top 50. So you have it the highest of all of us.
Yep.
Which is cool. Okay, that's great. It's one that a lot of people enjoy. I was impressed just how quickly it made it into the top 100 of BGG.
Oh yeah, it did.
That was really fast. But good for it. They at Flat Out Games, they've designed a lot of games that are accessible to new gamers, while also be very enjoyable for seasoned veterans. So I give them applause for that. Plus, the Beth Sobel art on all the covers is beautiful. I know I have signed copies of both of them from Beth Sobel, and I love them. Great pick.
Thank you.
All right. This 4th one is also a hot take. It's not that hot of a take, and unfortunately, I think this is a game that's pretty hard to get your hands on nowadays. But that game is Parade. So Parade. So I talked a little bit about Peatmots, where like it has this one really inscrutable mechanism where you kind of have to wrap your head around that. But once you can, the rest of the game's pretty straightforward. And actually, these games have a lot in common. So in both games, you have one thing that's kind of complex, but whatever. That one thing lets you take cards in a certain way. Whereas in Peakmot, you're trying to get sets of cards. Parade, you're trying to not take cards. So, well, within reason. So it is Alice in Wonderland. Scores are topsy-turvy. You want to end the game with the lowest score. And one way you can get the lowest score is by just not taking a lot of cards. The other way you can get the lowest score is by taking a lot of cards of one color and then sticking other players with like 1 or 2 cards of that color. Because if you have the most cards of a color, you're going to flip them all face down and they're all worth a point apiece. But if you don't have all the cards of one color, then they'll just be worth whatever numbers on them, which for some cards is as high as like 9 or 10. So if I'm able to get like 5 reds, and I'm able to get Ben here stuck with like a red 9 and 10, I get 5 points, Ben gets 17 or 19 points.
Yeah.
So that mechanic's just really fun, really cool. There's also a lot of tension because at the end of the game, you're going to add 2 cards to your piles, which can really make or break those majorities. Especially like you might be playing, I'll add 2 yellow cards to this pile. That will give me the majority. Except then someone else adds 2 yellow cards to their pile. Now they have the majority and you've just given yourself more points. Mm-hmm. It's a game that like, it's hard to, I'll gush about it as much as I can because it's a game that doesn't really avail itself to that much gushing. Like it's a pretty just straightforward card game. But like, there's so much under the hood that I enjoy about it. I think there's just a lot of just choosing how you're going to use the cards in your hand, when to take what kinds of cards is always a really interesting choice. It's not that hard to teach. I mentioned that one rule is kind of hard, and it is. But once you get that rule, you basically have the whole game. So when I was in college, we had a cross-cultural trip where I was in Bulgaria for about 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. And I brought Parade, and I played it with some people who weren't really into games. We played a ton of Parade in Bulgaria. So it's a game that I pretty much always enjoy when I play it, and I don't think that's going to change. If you're wondering why this box is very full, this is also where I keep my copy of Arboretum. But that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, there you go. Parade.
I want to hear Jamie's thoughts before I share mine.
I'll leave this out here because it's just wonderful.
I like small card games, and I like that one. It's just a fun, like, thinky little card game.
Okay. So I took it easy on you for the first 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of this.
Yep.
But also, you're so good at this game that I feel like, so I have like no chance. So I find myself a little frustrated sometimes playing this.
I lost last time we played.
Okay.
So this is a game. It feels like there's a lot of luck when you're playing it. Mm-hmm. When you've played it a few times, there's not that much luck. You can definitely get good at this game, but you can still get totally messed over by bad cards too. So yeah, I've probably injured some people in Parade before.
So I enjoy the theme of it. The art doesn't bother me at all. I like the Alice in Wonderland theme. This game definitely does have its champions in the hobby. There are definitely more than a few of the bigger names that champion this game. And I think the strategy's there. It's just not a game for me, even though it should be. I think it falls under the same category as Arboretum for me, as just games that just frustrate me, even though I probably should like them.
Well, they're both in that box for you,
Yeah,
Parade and Arboretum.
Another thing that really bothers me, so even without this double, without 2 things in there, it doesn't fit back because there's no space for for the score pad, so it doesn't fully shut even if you have only 1 game in there. That's one thing that does bother me a little bit about this game, but also the fact that you can't get it.
That does bum me out.
I was able to find a copy on the shelf at a game store, that a game store had it for years. because no one wanted it. And after playing it, I can see why.
Boo! Leave.
No, it was actually wasn't bad. It's just not a game for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've thought about getting rid of my copy, but we'll see.
All right, I think that's the worst of the. I think we're done with my hot takes for the 20-11 video.
Okay. Cool.
My number 13 is a small card game, and it's called Mandala.
All right.
Designed by Trevor Benjamin and Brett J. Gilbert, published by Lookout Games. In this game, you're going to have these 6 different colors. There's going to be 2 different, basically, mandalas, and you're going to be playing. If you play a card in the middle, you're able to draw 3 cards. If you play it on the side of it, that's where you're going to try to get the majority to win to be able to take from the middle. And the more you have on the side is who's going to win that to take the first pick what's in the middle. So there's these 2 different majority things going on, and you're trying to collect the different colors, and then you score based on, so your green might be worth 1 point, and then your black might be worth like 5 or 6 points. So you're trying to get more of those higher color cards that are worth it for you, and the game ends when somebody gets their 6th cup or 6th color, and it's just a fun game, and it has different like tactics and strategies that I like, and it's fun.
I was wondering if you like this game.
Mm-hmm.
So they added this game to BGA just recently,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking, I was about to sit down and like learn how to watch the video how to play
Mhm.
and play it, but then I was like, I wonder if Jamie plays this game. This seems like a game that Jamie would like.
Oh, yep, a lot. Yep.
Okay.
I haven't played it on BGA, but I've
Yeah.
played it a lot in person.
Okay. Because it's just I didn't know that you liked this game. I didn't know that you had this game. I just thought this was a game that you would like.
Yep.
And I was like, maybe Jamie has it. I'll wait, and then I ended up just falling asleep. I didn't end up playing it, but I thought about playing it last week and learn how to play it. But yeah, have you? You haven't played this one? Okay, cool. All right, great pick, I guess.
Yep.
I'll have to try it.
All right. My next one, I think, is at least a 3-way crossover. Might be. I don't know if this is a 4-way crossover. Quacks? Is Quacks a 4-way crossover or just 3-way?
Yes. Jamie, do you have it?
I believe so.
Yes.
I think we. Yeah.
And that's a
Yep.
first. Yeah, 4-way.
Space was.
Space,
So-
and Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had it at 45. Sharita had it at 23.
Yeah. So Quacks of Quedlinburg, you've heard about it several times already. So it's like it's the push your luck game for me.
Yep.
So it's not a genre I typically gravitate towards, but it's just done so well in Quacks. The different abilities that you can get are just really fun and interesting. It feels exciting whenever you get one of those cool tiles. It is a dead simple game, so like it is. I think it should be on everyone's. It's a game that I think everyone should have. It should be alongside like Ticket to Ride and I don't know, like other games that should be on every like it should be on that list. And of those games that I would say everyone should have, with one exception that will come sooner than later, I suppose. Oh, it'll come pretty late. It's one of those that is probably my favorite. It's a super accessible, super fun. There's enough strategy that everyone can like think a little bit on their turn, but also there's enough luck that someone who's new to the hobby has a chance of winning the game. It's solid, and you don't need upgrade pieces to enjoy this game.
Yes, you do need to upgrade pieces, because it doesn't. Not only does it not feel the same, but the oils on your fingers stick to the pieces, and then it like starts smearing off, or it gets sticky, and it's really gross, and it's Just buy the upgrade pieces.
I probably actually do want the upgrade pieces at some point in my life, but it's fine without. You don't need them. Buy the game for whatever it runs for, and then get them when you feel like it.
Yeah, it also doesn't help that they constantly selling out of those, and they're like perpetually not available for more than a week at a time. They're available for like a week every 2 months, and and it costs as much as the actual game itself.
Yeah.
Plus, when you buy expansions, you also got to buy expansion pieces. And, But yes, it's a good game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit on the fact of a game that everyone needs to own. I think just one person in the group needs to own it, but I do think it's a game that everyone needs to try.
I could get behind. So like I would say every group needs to have it.
Sure.
If you're not part of a gaming group and you only have people over for games once in a while, I think it would be a good one to have.
Sure. Yeah.
So
That would be a good list. 10 games that everyone needs to try, and 10 games everyone should own.
Yeah.
That would be a good. Those would be good lists to make. All right.
Number
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, I think we talked about Quacks enough on your section. All right.
Number 12 is another engine builder.
Yep.
And it's called Earth.
Hey.
Designed by Maxime Tardif and published by Inside Up Games. It's a game where you're going to be having a lot of cards and you're trying to build this 4x4 grid, and the cards will do different things. You're trying to grow these different things, grow trees, and then you're trying to also somewhat like you'd be adjacent to certain things, and then others will work like in this row you can grow 1 cube of each one if you have like the mushroom one. It's very puzzly and very engine building-y, and it's one that I've really enjoyed.
I really should play this game.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, put you on the spot again.
Okay.
All right. So, I compare this a lot to Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition.
Yep.
Which you don't care for as much.
I don't hate it. It just feels almost like a little samey, I've always felt.
Okay.
Because I played it a few times. I played it solo
Sure.
a few times.
Yeah.
I'll play that one. I like it, but I like Earth a lot more.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. So, this is a 3-way crossover.
Mhm.
So Sharita had it at 33. I thought it would be higher for her. I had it at 18 for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one that definitely we enjoy a lot. I do think that once you get a good engine going, like there's like the action points, like there's definitely one action point in particular each game that you can build up and you can just absolutely break by the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
I should play this game. I think for me the thing is I don't see it being better than Terraforming Mars for me, like original Terraforming Mars.
Sure.
But maybe it would be. Who knows?
sure.
I think they're very different games, though.
It has the Race for the Galaxy action point thing.
Oh, it does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like you get the one action, and then each of your opponents also get to do that same action for their, and you're building up a
4x4
4x4 grid.
Gotcha.
Yes. So you're racing to fill up that 4x4 grid. So kind of like Race for the Galaxy,
Okay.
but also there's so many more things going on with
Yeah.
it. So, but yeah, it's a really good game. I've not done solo.
Mm-hmm. I haven't either. I want to.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely one that was a big surprise for me. I'm glad it's as good as it is.
Yep.
All right.
I think this last one, just for number 11, it's not controversial in any sense of the word. So my number 11 is Brass Birmingham, which is the number 1 game on Board Game Geek as of recording. So like, am I a unique flower? No. But so if you haven't heard of Brass Birmingham, it is an economic Euro style game where you are trying to build different types of buildings in Great Britain, I suppose. Think that's where Birmingham is. I'm really good at geography, and by that I mean I'm not. So if I'm incorrect, sorry. But so you're trying to spread these different buildings around. You're trying to build your network. So in the first half of the game, you're going to be building a network of canals. The second half of the game, you're going to be building a network of rails and railroads and all that. And you're also trying to kind of get goods delivered to different places. So there's just all these different things going on. What I think, so I've only played it 2 times at this point, so it's another one where I could see it going up or down based on more plays. That said, it was hard enough to get those 2 plays, so I don't know exactly how many times I'll get to play this game, but it's just really solid. It's one of those where you can tell why it's as loved as it is, just because it's so solid. The resources in this game are a bit weird, but they're also very interactive. So, like, you're going to build coal and add coal to the board, but other people can use your coal, or other people can use the iron that you built. So you're constantly doing these things that might be for your own plan, but which other people might be using to incorporate in their plan instead. Now, it's not all bad for you. It's not that these are just getting stolen from you, because you actually want to empty these things, because when you do, you're going to get points, you're going to get income, all those fun things. But it's just a really interesting, like, shared economy. Yeah, it's just really interesting. There's a lot going on. It's another game that's kind of hard to distill into one thing, because there's just so much. But it really does work quite well. And I've enjoyed thoroughly the 2 plays I've had of it, and I'd like to play it more.
And Jamie, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'd really like to try it.
All right.
I have never played it, but it seems really fun.
So I know we joked about, like, you bringing this today and just ruining Eli's life and make him never talk to us again. But we were we decided against that. So when we played this, I thought it was a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
I had it as my favorite play of last month when I talked about the wrap up for last month, and I do think that there's a lot of things you have to remember that. It's just something that every time I play it, I have to relearn how to play it. And there's just things like the iron, like do you have which resources you have to have your own network for, which ones you can share networks, which ones you can just take regardless of network, and all that. And the fact of the 2 ages, you're playing over 2 ages and basically starting over each age. I don't know if it's necessary to play both ages all the time.
Probably. I don't know.
But I just felt like after the first age, I was like, okay, we're halfway through the game. I feel like I had a full game experience now. And then we had a whole second half of the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because the game is played over 2 phases. So there's the 2 ages basically, and you're basically clearing off the board and restarting after the first age, which is where you're building the boats?
So the canals in the first
Yes.
stage and then rails in the second.
So
But not everything gets cleared, just your links between things get cleared. So and some of the older buildings. I had happened to build a lot of newer buildings that stick through.
I did not. All mine were lost. And so so first age, you're traveling by you're delivering goods via canal, and then the second age, you're more industrialized and you're traveling by rails now. And so I enjoy it a lot. It's just a game that I probably won't play very much, if ever again. But it's one that I might consider putting into a top 50 list, though. I did enjoy it that much. It's just one that it's just a chore to get to the table.
We had Rodney Smith teach it to us.
Yes. Without Rodney Smith, there would be no board gaming without Rodney Smith.
I was like, I am not going to teach this game to you. It's too much of a chore. Here you go.
Shout out to Rodney Smith.
Yep.
Thank you for everything you do for the hobby, of course, as always. Yes, we love Rodney. All right, final one for Jamie in this video.
It is Clask, designed by Mikhail Bertelsen, and I don't know who published it. It's a 2-player dexterity game, basically like air hockey, but with magnets. You have this little striker thing, and you're trying to hit this yellow marble into their goal. There's also 3 things in the middle called biscuits, that if you get 2 of them onto your opponent, that's a point for you. Also, if you go into your own goal, that's a point for your opponent. It's the first to 6, and it's just one that's quick, easy, and really fun.
I did not know this was out flirting with your top 10.
Yep.
Wow. I thought you didn't like this game that much.
No, I really
but
like
turns
it.
out you really love
Yep.
this game. Okay. Do you have this at home?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Better than Crokinole. You heard it here first.
I haven't played Crokinole as much, so that could go up as I play that one more.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'd like to get a board of Crokinole,
Yeah.
but had to save up for it.
Crokinole's great.
It is.
Classic is also great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a European bar top game that just
Mm-hmm.
became like a worldwide sensation. And
Yep.
yeah, that's a great pick, Jamie.
Thank you.
So I haven't played it, but I've at least considered getting it just because Crokinole is not affordable.
No, it's
Classic
very
is
expensive. Yeah.
relatively affordable.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so you've only played the 2-player version, right?
Yep. Never played the 4-player one.
Okay. That one just looks like so much chaos. but
Very.
that would be fun though. I would totally try that. But
It would be
yes.
fun.
all right, I'm glad that this is at where it's at on
Mhm.
your list. Sharita hates on this game, so I don't get to play it much. Okay. Well, yep. I have my copy here. I keep at the shop though, and it just doesn't get played as much. But I'm glad that's it this high for you.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. That is numbers 20 through 11.
Yep.
There was definitely some surprises, especially on Jamie's list, less so on your list.
Mine were just controversial.
Yours were, there were some that I probably wouldn't put as high as as you did, but that's why we're doing this list though.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for watching. Stay tuned for the next one. Our top 10 is coming up next. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.